tell us a little bit about your client. What drove them to look at an ERP system and how Ultra got involved?
Well, thanks for having me today, Kim. I'll talk about a plumbing distributor on the West Coast. They were founded about 70 years ago and employ roughly 150 to 200 resources with revenues just under $100 million. Their business is really focused on selling plumbing supplies and fixtures, including, both low-end and high-end products, and primarily to the plumbing trade and contractors. They operate about 14 branches that act like front-end retail stores across the U.S., Alaska, and Hawaii. They've recently sold off Hawaii, but U.S. and Alaska are still in play. They're an interesting company because the majority of their leadership really were tradesmen at one point in their career. They were plumbers or contractors that evolved into their chief operating officer and their CEO and other leadership positions throughout the country. So they really know their craft. They're really kind of matter-of-fact people. They don't mince words, if you will. They've been a really interesting client to work with. We enjoy a really long and wonderful relationship with them. Some of their key business challenges were focused in the area of purchasing as being a key. They did not make a lot of purchases within their system. They did a lot of stuff on paper, created orders on paper with contractors coming into their branch offices. So they really had very little to no visibility of inventory. The branches were not able to look at inventory levels across other branches. So as a contractor, when I went into a branch and looked for a product that wasn't there, they weren't able to help me and tell me where else to go get it. The good news is that their contractors were very loyal, so they gave the client time to figure it out and satisfy their order. They also complained about the amount of time it took to place an order. Again, they did a lot of stuff on paper when you went into the branch to place the order. Because of that, they were negotiating prices along the way. There were, obviously contractors trying to get the best deals, and there was little to no control over pricing from the corporate office, if you will. So there was, potential lost revenue and margin loss because they were negotiating prices that at some points were either at cost or below cost, right? So that became a problem for them.
Interesting. Disparate systems, things aren't centralized. So tell us a little bit about the evaluation process, where you started and what you took them through there to find them their perfect ERP.
Yeah, so similar to what Sean had said, Ultra does a process whereby we evaluate their current state environment, and we're applying Lean and Six Sigma principles to their processes. We're looking for areas where there's waste in the business or there's lack of efficiency. We use those findings as a means to try to monetize any savings that they could have during the implementation. So we're trying to put some what we call value drivers around the areas of the business that can be improved. Once we do the current state analysis, we take the client through a future state where we're really trying to define how we think the business should run in the future, not just how it's run today. And we document those in a way that is reflective of how the day-to-day business operations would feel and how it would run. Once we do that, we document detailed requirements. We bring typically 5 to 7 vendors to what we call the long list party, if you will. During that time of which we're doing a quick analysis of those key requirements for those longer list vendors that we believe can meet them. And then from there, we go through a down selection process where we take the final 2 to 3 to a more detailed, excruciating demonstration process.
Okay. And then when you do that demo process, is that pretty heavily scripted? Do you script those out, or do you allow the vendors to kind of come in and look at the requirements and put the script together on their own?
Yeah, no. We script it out. If we let the vendor control the demonstration process, they'll want to come in and show the client everything that's sexy about their solution and not necessarily all the key components to the solution that are intended to meet the future state requirements of the business. We generally organize our demonstration script by what we call a work stream, right? Procure to pay or order to cash. And we orient it back to the way the business is going to run in the future. That demonstration script is pretty lengthy in size, anywhere between, 50 pages to, in some cases, I've had 180-page demonstration scripts that we've produced for our clients. We give the vendor those scripts. We give them plenty of time in their process to review them and really prepare, in pretty amount of detail to come in and knock the socks off of our client. We don't want it to just be about the software. We want it to be about the relationship, the functionality, and most importantly, or as importantly, we want to make sure the client has clear visibility into how that vendor will go about the implementation. As we know, and as Sean pointed out, implementations are hard, but they yield a lot of benefit to the client when it's all over. And as important as the software is, we want to make sure that the vendor is capable of delivering that to the client. So we spend a fair amount of time in that area as well.
So it sounds like you're definitely scripting the demos, making sure that the vendors are accountable to those solutions and showing side by side the 3 to 4 vendors and how they would approach the solution. So it sounds like a very well-controlled environment versus just letting the vendors come in and, as you said, show their sexy stuff. I think that's a great way to move the process forward. So tell us, now that they're implemented, how is their environment now? What benefits have they realized? I assume they're you've done an ROI and they're starting to realize those benefits. So tell us a little bit about where they are today and how that's going for them.
Sure, certainly. Their culture was unique in the sense that they weren't focused on, if you will, business process and efficiency. So it took some time to get them through the future state and selection side of the software, somewhere around 7 to 8 months. And then we took another about 10 to 11 months to go through the implementation. The hardest thing was really just getting the culture, right, the remote culture in the branches to understand how to use the system and get the value out of it. The benefits that they're starting to realize now are that, they have better inventory control, obviously, because everything's in one book of records, so to speak. The branches have visibility to other branches' inventory. Customers can place orders electronically. They have portals that they can go into and look at their order history they didn't have before. The business is now basically taking more control, and they're able to make better decisions with the information that's provided, specifically around the areas of inventory management. They're starting to see reduction of inventory with better order fulfillment percentages. They started also working in the forecasting and planning area. That's been a very weak area for them historically. As you can imagine, with no inventory control, they didn't have a lot of forecasting solutions in place, and now they're starting to deploy those, so they're seeing better control in the business on that side. And they're also, we're also working with them in the areas of warehouse optimization now.
That's great. So I think everything you're doing there is certainly helping them, but I'm sure it's a huge change, and I'm sure the change management for them has been a big step. But it sounds like they're starting to get there and realize the benefits and see how technology can be helpful.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed working with their team. Given their background and how they've worked before, they're the kind of people that says it like it is, and that really fits who Ultra is as an organization. We don't like to mince words, and we're very transparent with how we engage our customers, and these guys fit perfectly into our model.
And I see here you've got a 4+ year relationship, so you've been working with them for quite some time, and I assume through some various projects. You just mentioned the forecasting.
Yeah, like I said, we're starting to work on forecasting and planning with them, and really digging into the warehouse and how to optimize pick patterns in the warehouse, as well as, looking at other technologies we can put in the warehouse to make them more efficient.
I love the fact that they are doing online ordering and things such as that when people used to have to walk into their storefront to order. So I'm sure huge advantages, and I'm sure they've seen revenues increase just from that perspective.
Despite COVID, they've had a really good year this year. For sure, the system has helped them in some areas, but I think a lot of us being home and having nothing else to do, they're taking on new projects in our homes, and people are buying more bathroom fixtures and trying to remodel a lot. They've enjoyed that benefit for sure.
Absolutely. All of our home projects that we're trying to tackle while we're all home. So anything else that you wanted to add there, Kevin?
I just wanted to again say thanks for letting me participate.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.